we have been hosting this program first and third Thursday of every month, but now we are thinking of doing more like once a month. And every month we will bring in different topics on Indo-American identity, challenges, dharma. I mean, it's kind of wide open, you know. So with that being said, today's main topic is challenges for Indo-American grandparents in US. And the session will be led by Nimay Vyas and Pathini Shah.
So, I chose this topic for today, particularly because today's my grandfather's birthday. Well, he he passed away 2 years ago. He was 100 years old. So I was like, today, it's his birthday, so let's just talk about senior citizens and living in America as Hindus. So my grandparents, they came to the United States back in the 80s, when there wasn't a whole lot of Indian like food available, groceries, all that stuff. But anywho, you know, we all lived together. So my parents, grandparents, and me and my siblings, we all lived together. So growing up, it was just, they were like more than parents because they like my granddad, he drove us around. He was our designated driver for all events, for school, after school activities. If we wanted something, we'd go to him first or my grandmother. And he taught us a lot about like Hindu, like dharma, shloka, all the shloks and bhajans that we have learned. My grandmother and my grandfather, especially my grandfather, taught us the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which, I am very grateful for. And he would take us to India every year. So we really very blessed and honored to have grandparents in our lives. And I think Nimay has a similar situation. So how about you go ahead?
Yeah, for sure. So, as Pathini said, my grandparents also immigrated here, but they immigrated here in 2006. And as you know, the majority of Indian families over here have working parents, so both parents work. And basically, my grandparents played the role of raising me while my parents were at work. And over the course, they gained citizenship to the U.S. And we spent a lot of time together. We would go on vacations together. My grandparents were also fairly religious as well. So sometimes we'd recite the Hanuman Chalisa together, or my grandmother or my grandfather would tell me stories of the Ramayana. And about 4 years ago, I fell ill with a chronic condition, and my grandparents really took care of me through that situation as well. And things have been pretty crazy, but I think in the last year, things had settled down a bit, and everyone was under the same roof. And unfortunately, my grandfather passed away in November, and due to cardiac arrest. And it was pretty hard on us as a family, and because we had a lot of attachment to him. And over the past couple of months, I've really just been reflecting on it, thinking about it, and so that's sort of just my relationship and situation with my grandparents.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Next, Mahendra Uncle, can we just move on to the next points that we have listed?
Sure, definitely. I would like you guys to lead independently, and wherever you need, we will step in. Okay.
Okay. So next come all the issues that come with like being elderly, especially for people from India, like elderly folks from India who don't know the language that well, or if they do, then it's still a little hard because it's not their, homeland per se. The issues that face elderly or grandparents, it's like loneliness, being isolated sort of in a way, just like health issues, um, for my grandparents when I moved, when I went to college, or all three of us went to college, they were able to, they felt kind of lonely because we constantly were hanging out with them before that, and we took, they took care of us, we took care of them, kind of deal. um, but that kind of stopped. um, and then when we all moved away from home, like right now, my grandmother, like she always asks us, when are you coming home? And it's hard because you want to like tell them a definite answer, but it's hard, to know when you're going to go home. My grandfather, he drove for most of, like, he had a license to drive till he was like almost 90 years old. So almost 90. And he drove us everywhere. Even when I was an undergrad, I didn't have a car to go home. He came to campus every Friday, which was like a 90-mile drive. He came with my grandmother. And right now I'm just like, I don't know how you guys did it. And I'm scared knowing how old they were, that they drove all the way down to Richmond, from Northern Virginia to Richmond. But God bless them. So they, like, my grandparents, my grandfather in particular, he loved going out. So like when he lost that ability to drive, it really like hit him hard because he was unable to like freely go places and mingle with people. So when we went home, we made an effort to like take him out to restaurants or to like shopping centers, just to like, help him out. But that comes in the next point. But these are like some of the issues facing them. Just like, loneliness, I think, is a big issue. With old age comes many, many health issues. But in my case, loneliness was a big issue, and freedom, losing that independence, also was a big issue. And Nimay, go ahead.
Yeah, so to add on to what you said, I also came up with some of these issues and situations that seniors face. And the first topic that I'd probably like to like shed light on is, typically they don't want to be a burden to their family. And I know that, even if we try to tell them that, hey, if there's a problem, you guys can speak up, they won't speak up, because I feel like our generation of Indian grandparents have so much pride in them, and they care so much for their children that they just don't want to be a burden to the family in any way possible. And like that sort of also ties into my second point, which is basically stating that they feel like they're not doing enough to help out. Um, I know with my grandfather, as I saw him over the course of the years when he was younger or when he first came here, he would be doing a lot of the little things inside the house. If there was anything to fix, or if there was anything that sort of went wrong, he would be the first one to fix it, I would say. Or like he would go out and bring back the garbage or make tea for everyone else. And as the years went on, his mobility got less and less, and I felt like his desire got less and less, but he still somewhere deep inside really wanted to help out. But I don't know, I guess that comes with old age. Another issue that seniors face would more or less be looking into the family life would be um, the stress between the different children they have. I know that sometimes some children may be more well off than others, or they have to move in between places. I've seen grandparents go between two or three different households every year, and it's we might be sitting here, we might be easily able to adjust, but it's extremely hard on them, especially with their old age. And additionally, if they don't have any children over here, they're sent off to senior homes and they're supposed to live on their own. And I can't even imagine the amount of stress and problems they have going through living alone as a senior citizen. Um, and also, additionally, especially if they're newly immigrated here, they also have lack of benefits, um, lack of access to healthcare, or they might not even have knowledge of the different benefits they have as immigrants over here. And tying into what you said before, there's also loneliness that ties in. I know that even I'm guilty of it myself. Sometimes I get so caught up in my work or so caught up in our day-to-day life that we sometimes tend to forget about them, which is something to be ashamed of, but it happens to everyone at a point. Another point would be diseases, illnesses that come with old age. I know that as people get older, their health tends to deteriorate, and that's definitely something that's very much a problem when it comes to seniors. You can also see a decline in brain power and memory. Um, I know I currently have a friend whose grandfather passed away earlier this month, and his grandfather used to take care of his grandmother, and his grandfather passed away, so his mother was forced to get admitted into a nursing home because she had Alzheimer's. So I know that diseases and illnesses also play a part. And I mean, the thing that really sticks out to me is like I know that senior citizens have the fear of being left behind. Um, I know that I still remember vividly one time we went on a vacation, and I guess I forgot to tell my grandmother that we're going out for the day, and we went on a little mini trip to Virginia Beach. And when she came back, she was extremely mad at me, and that just sort of ties into just that being left behind thing. So I don't know. This was just a little bullet point list of situations that I thought.
So, so with all these challenges with our grandparents that you guys mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I may ask, can you shed some light on how did you overcome some of these challenges? And
That comes next.
sure, go ahead. My bad.
No, that was the next topic on what
Perfect.
we can do or what we do. Sorry, didn't sorry, didn't want to butt in, but didn't want to burst your bubble there. But okay. So the next issue, like next point is, we talked about the issues. Now what can we do, or what do we do to help them? um I so I like to call my grandmother at least once or twice a day. I know everybody can't do that, but once a day you could spare 5 minutes to call and you know spend a few minutes talking. Not everybody doesn't like to talk. Like my dad, he doesn't like to talk unless it's like necessary. so so even then I told him, look, my grandmother likes to talk, just spend some time with her. It's the least we can do. So and we when we're there, we pamper them. I know not everybody likes hugs, but I believe in hugs for grandparents. So that's my like main thing. They're very stubborn at this age. They're not going to change. You can't make them change. If they're above 70, they're going to be stubborn as anything. And we have to accommodate their whims and wishes to a certain extent, to be like, compromise somewhere. Um, of course, if their wishes are a little, out there, you just want to try to like pacify them somehow. That's what that's what we try to do. Uh, we, so, towards the end, like not towards the end, but like in the past 10 or so years, my grandparents, their mobility has decreased as Nimay said that, with age, health deteriorates. So, but with that being said, my grandparents, they were fortunate to be very self, like, they did everything by themselves. They, took care of their basic needs, going to the bathroom, taking a shower, dressing themselves, getting to one place to the next. They did all of that. And they didn't want any help. So like my grandfather in public, people would try to help him to get up or something or walk. But as long as he had his cane or walker, he didn't take any help and he didn't want any help. So that's another thing that we need to keep in mind, that, you know, you want to help, but you need to like figure out when that help becomes like too much for them, where they feel like you're kind of treating them like a baby, because in a sense they are like children at this age. And children, like, you know, us adults, they want to be very independent, they want to do everything by themselves. So that's, you know, so it's kind of, I don't know, I would say what we can do, spend time, you know, help them, but not overbearingly. Pamper them, take them out if they like going out. My Dadaji loved to go out to Wegmans and restaurants and stuff. We took him out. We treated him and just like he had for us. My grandmother, she loved to cook. She cooked till she was about 90. After that, her hands were not as great working, and, you know, with dementia and all that, we said no. And initially she protested a lot. She was very stubborn about it, and she would sneak into the kitchen and want to make things. But, you know, after a while she realized that it wasn't safe for her to be around, you know, fire and not being able to hold things properly. And so she realized that. So it just takes time. So spend time. It takes time, and we all, they're stubborn. They're not going to change. You can't really argue with them. Just, you know, let them be and just keep them happy. That's what I would say. Yeah. So, Nimay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I know that my first point overlaps with what Pathini said. The main thing we can do is spend time with them if they're alive and value them for who they are. Whether it just be going out for a walk with them or watching TV with them, or, you know, just taking 10, 15 minutes out of your day just to sit next to them and just converse with them. I feel like those little conversations, those little moments spent together go a long way. And, you know, it might not mean a lot to us, but I know for the grandparent, it means the world that you're spending time out of your day to just talk to them. And, you know, it shows them that you care about them. And it's just another way to show affection and love. Another thing, I mean, you might disagree with this a little bit, but I would say clean up after them and take care of them. Do the chores. You know, if they have a cup of water and they're getting up to put it away, make a gesture and do it yourself. You know, if they spill something, help clean it up. You should try to limit their workload as much as you can, especially as they get older, because they've done a lot for you. And you know, even when it comes to pride, you know, accidents happen and it could be injurious to them as well. Again, like my fourth point again is just remind them that you love them. You know, I try to show my grandmother affection like throughout the day. I try to say good night to her every night. Try to sit with her, talk to her. Um, and, you know, try to give them the little things that they'll value. You know, just like an example, like if you're going out and you're buying someone else a gift, you know, if you're buying your girlfriend a pair of earrings, like why not get your grandma a pair too? Give them little gifts that they'll value. Um, and, you know, also try to involve them in every little thing. You know, if you're going out to meet someone, you can just be like, hey, bye, do you want to tag along? Or, you know, if you're going out to the park, you can go out of your way, take a little bit of extra trouble and try to spend time with them and just make them feel like you want them. Because I know that at old age, you know, I mean, I haven't been there personally myself, but I know from what people tell me that it's hard. Um, and another thing I would say is, like, when it comes to family life, do not try to escalate situations around them. You know, don't try to argue in front of your grandparents. You know, don't try to yell. Don't try to raise your voice. You know, don't talk about things that could, you know, potentially make them worry. I know that many older adults. I know my grandmother has blood pressure problems, So I feel like just cutting it off and trying to be positive and maintain an atmosphere of love is probably the best. And my last point is just try to value them as much as you can while they're here, because I know for 100%, like this is a fact. Like you're gonna regret like not spending time with them when they're not here. Like no matter how much time you spend with them, it's still gonna be in your head. You're just gonna be like damn, I wish I could see my grandfather once again. I know that's what it's like with me. So yeah, those are probably all my points for
Um,
what we can do as children.
thank you. Yeah, those are definitely good points, and I agree with all of them. Um, so okay, so um, there's one more point that I wanted to add. We have grandparents, elderly grandparents, elderly parents, but we also have elderly in-laws. Um, I do. And I'm sure most of you do also. And of course, not everyone gets along with their in-laws, and that's okay. Not everybody's gonna agree at one point with everything, but you know, not gonna lecture. Just gonna say that if it were your own parents and you would want their daughter and your hobby or your sister-in-law, if you had a brother, you would want his wife to treat your parents the same, like, nicely, kindly as you would to your, like, you would treat your own parents. So if you put yourself in that position, you will also, show the same respect to your in-laws also. um so just wanted to get that out there. um uh okay, so how all this, well, I wanted to point out a few things with Hindu Dharma and how it all, like, how our religion, helps us with grandparents. Um, so for us, with bhajan shloks, there are many instances where we consider our parents to be our guru, our first guru, our mother, father, and grandparents, obviously, because if you're living with them, you have interaction. They're your parents' guru, so obviously they're going to be your guru also, and they're second to God for many or all of us, and not only in Hindu Dharma, but most Eastern religions, you know, they hold their elders to a higher level and give a lot of respect, whether it be for our religion, in history. If you point out Shravan Kumar or Sri Ram, we all have examples that we can, use in our own lives. Sure, some of the stories are a little, kind of out there for this yug, but we as children can should do our best and try our best, to help them and love them as they did when we were young. So, Nimay, what are your last points?
Um, so my points when it comes to Hindu Dharma, the first thing I want to mention is the yugs. And we started off with Satya Yug, and now we're in Kali Yug, which is not good to say the least. But as each generation dies off per se, we see the rise of evil in our population. It can just be seen by the amount of bad things that are being done, and we can just look through the news. We don't even have to look far. And as this next generation or our grandparents, they're like their own little generation. I feel like one thing we should do is we should try to take away and take some good things away from them. And even if it's just observing them, we can look at the different qualities of Hinduism in each person, especially our grandparents. So I know there's a slok that goes Diti Shama Damustaya Socha Mindriya Nigraha Dividya Satya Akrodo Dasatam Dharma Lakshanam. And this slok basically goes over the different the different essential qualities of Hinduism in every person. And I know what I did is after my grandfather passed away, I started writing and I wrote an essay on each different quality and tried to see how many of the qualities he had. And I was able to find all of the qualities of Hindu Dharma inside him in one way or another. And what we should do is we should look at these qualities and we should try to incorporate some of these qualities into ourselves. Um, and we should probably, like, if it doesn't matter if it's now or a couple years down the line after the grandparents pass away, we should always try to reflect on their lives and do what it takes to better ourselves and learn from them. Um, another thing that we should take away from our grandparents, and it sort of ties into Hindu Dharma, is how much they pray. I know that a lot of us today forget to pray to God. I know when I was younger, I used to pray to God every night, recite every shloka, and like I've just stopped. But I know that my dada used to read Sundarkand every week. My ba prays to God every night before she sleeps. They play bhajans and things like that. And we should look at the amount of time they spend with God, and we should personally, try. Maybe we might not be able to spend as much time as them, but if they're playing a bhajan or if they're listening to kirtan, we should sit down next to them for maybe 10 to 15 minutes and just try to get closer to God. Um, because I know that our grandparents are a lot cleaner souls than we are, and I feel like in a way, if we're closer to them, then we're closer to God in a sense. And my last little thing, or my last little point, is I know that our Hindu Dharma requires us to do a lot of things after someone passes away. I know that, and I mean, I feel like we should all try to participate in the Antim Sanskar, give our grandparents the farewell day they deserve once God takes them away from us. We should try to follow all the traditions that we have in place. I had to get my hair cut, and I was really against it. But I know, at least for me personally, this is really personal, but the day my grandfather died, he told me, Beta, next time you go to get your hair cut, remind me to make sure you take me with you. So additionally, all the Antim Sanskar, all the funeral stuff, we should try to give our grandparents the farewell they deserve once they're not here with us. So, I feel like just tying in Hindu Dharma and with our grandparents, I feel like there's something that correlates really well together. And I feel like the closer you get to your grandparents, I feel like in a way, the closer you get to God. So, that's probably my final point.
Couldn't have said it better.
That was fantastic, guys. I'm just so proud of you. I mean, I'm sure everyone here would be very proud to have a son or daughter-in-law, or whoever, like, I mean, you guys, fantastic job, guys. So awesome. So, I mean, with that, I mean, are you guys done, or you still have something to talk? Are we like open for discussion at this point?
Open.
Open, yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, first of all, if there's anybody who would like to have any question or, like, I mean, put across a point, please feel free. It's an open floor at this point. I'm going to give you another about 10 seconds if, like, somebody wants to speak. Well, I will go in that case. I don't have, I mean, I never got to see my grandparents, but I have my mom. She's 81, right? And over the course of period, what I have learned, and you can call it project management as well, is one of the key is communication, right? Uh, what kind of tone you are using, what kind of language you are using, what kind of facial expressions you are showing, right? Everything matters. And even after having a very busy life, if you can set aside certain time, like, both of you guys mentioned, that is a plenty. And for the other times, over the period, if one sets up certain expectations, then just like children learn from their kids, even our parents or grandparents will, I mean, learn from us, because at that point we are the head of the house, or we are the more responsible one, I guess, you know. So communication is the key always. I mean, and that is not only applicable to our grandparents. It is applicable anywhere and everywhere. And second is, once you set the expectations, at like some point, it kind of triggers into them. Okay, you know what? It's about 4 o'clock and they are busy, so we should not. So I should just I just keep myself to myself and just let me do my YouTube on my on my small iPod or something. But as soon as it's about 5:30 or something, she will like start something. Hey, she, where are you, beta? And because I mean, she knows, okay, it's 5:30, it's time for my son, I mean, grandson to come over and all those things, you know. And that's how things, work out, you know. So, cool, very good. And as far as bhakti is concerned, I think bhakti is one of the very essential part of Hindu Dharma, you know. I mean, I'm sure just like your grandparents sung dharma stories or slokas for you, when like my kids were young, we also did the same thing. You know, we will always repeat Hanuman Chalisa, and then there's a one slok in which you can complete the entire Ramayana, right? Both of my sons, Shiv and Om, knows that, and I'm so proud that I have been watching my older one. He spends dedicated half hour to 1 hour every afternoon going through the same TV serials that we have watched uh, previous night, and the sole purpose is to explain her every dialogue. Okay, ma, this is what happened. Ma, this is what happened. You know, and he will do that with dedication. You know, and I mean that is the beautiful thing grandkids can do. You know, so I am to be honest very blessed that both my sons Shiv and Om. You know, I mean they have their days, but I mean they do committedly spend time. Specifically, Shiv, who stays more at home, he just takes care of, you know. So that's awesome. And I think I would give a lot of credit to, I mean, not only my parents sanskar, but also my association with VHPA, and more particularly having spent good 10 to 15 years at Bal Gokulam, that we started. So that laid awesome foundations, you know. Yeah. So those were my experience. I mean, I'm not grandparent or I'm not a grandson, but that's my experience. Vinit Pinky ji, any other thoughts you have? I
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
since
Mahendra ji. Good job, Nimay and Panthani. Really excellent point of view you guys put before us. I really liked your point of view. So yeah, the main thing is these guys already referred all the major points. The main thing is uh, old age parents and grandparents. They should be part of our day-to-day family structure, right? We should involve them in each and every activity so that they do not feel neglected, right? Spending more time to it, understanding them, connecting to them, and behavior definitely matters before them a lot. And this is what, like, the emotional values we have to maintain, which they have inculcated in us, right? Emotional values and religious values, all these things. So that's what I also feel.
Oh, very good. Very good. I see we have one new person here. The name it reads is Arshia,
Yeah, he's
Arshia.
Sunil. He's Sunil Rawat, our
Oh, Sunil. Okay,
what? Yeah.
okay. Welcome, Sunilji.
नमस्ते सापा जी.
Namaste. What do you think about today's program and the presentation done by Pathini and Nimay?
नहीं, बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है सुन के कि मतलब नेक्स्ट जनरेशन इज गोइंग ऑन द सेम पाथ जो हम लोग जो वैल्यूज देखना चाहते हैं अपने बच्चों में. दीज गाइस आर फॉलोइंग द सेम पाथ.
वीडियो चेहरा दिखाना भाई बात करते वक्त. क्या दोस्त बन के थोड़ी बात कर.
अरे एक मिनट.
By the way, Nimai grew up in our Mangal Mandir Bal Gokulam. and he had been with us in cricket for like past about 70 years. And Pathini, as some of you may know, she grew up in Durga Temple, Balgokulam. So I mean, both of these kids are kind of associated with VHPA since long time.
My grandparents were also like they were part of RSS back in India. So yeah.
Cool,
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
what she always corrects. Not me. My grandparents were part of Valga Club. That's practically correct. They used to come every time. Pathini was occasional visitor.
He's saying it's not a starting from me. They started like 70 years back.
Yes.
Correct.
I have to talk about the roots, right?
Absolutely. Actually, Devaksi, while you are listening this, Shivramji pinged me at least a couple of times. Hey, where is Shiv? I'm like, he might be somewhere busy, but he might show up. So excellent, excellent conversation, guys. I don't know what time it is right now.
I think we should
9/11.
No need to stretch. It's 9/11.
No, absolutely. So I mean, I will give another about 10 seconds. If like anybody has any thoughts to share, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can do last prayers and we will wind up.
I would like to add something, Nimay, Joji.
Sure.
It's like Pathini and Nimay, you really both did a really good job. I'm so glad, seriously. So congratulations, both of you. And I'm working and volunteering with non-profits, and I am handling senior citizens, their mental health issues, and particularly for Indian and South Asian citizens. So it's like they have 2 or 3 programs for seniors, and we have joint family in Indian culture. What our dharma taught is right. It's already like we have everything, but here in USA it's not possible. As Nimai told, it's like both parents are working so really hard to manage. But scientifically, it is already proven that kids really need someone, and senior citizens and connection between kids. It's no one can understand, but naturally it really scientifically proven already. They can connect very easily. They can be mentors for the kids. And our wisdom, our culture, our religions things, definitely we even my grandparents, I learned so many things from my grandparents. So like we have that connection, but still it's I want to add that these only it is really scientifically proven we should connect our kids to their grandparents.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pinky.
My grandfather and my grandmother, they were part of the independence movement in India. My grandfather was a freedom fighter. He went to jail in 1943 or 44. Or 42, I'm not really sure. But they really taught me like
Yes.
patriotism, and they taught us a whole lot about the independence movement, all the leaders and everything. So even though I was not born in India, many people confuse me and confuse. They'll be confused and they'll ask me when I came from India, because I apparently know a lot more than what Indian-born kids do.
That's awesome.
History from the textbooks, right? Because you're living with the freedom fighter. So this is the thing. What you have, right? Their wisdom, their experience with you.
Correct. Yeah. Jitanji, do you have any thoughts about today's program?
Yeah, Mahendra, what I was going to say was it was very nice to listen to these 3 kids. I missed some part of it. I listened to just bits and pieces. I'm probably the only grandparent in this. But the only thing I'd like to ask is, how many of the kids who spoke, they came from India at what age? And are there any who were born here and raised here?
Nimay?
I was born and raised here.
Both were born and raised here.
Because I have seen a big difference. For example, when we came and we had our kid born here and raised here, but when I called some family members, they came here later and their kids already their formative years they had spent in India, and their behavior and their feeling towards parents is very different compared to the kids who were born here and raised here, as opposed to those who came from India when the kids were like 10 or 12 or 15 years old.
Yeah.
And that,
So sorry.
let
sorry.
me
Yeah.
That's probably also confirmed by the fact that I came here at age about 20, 21. And I mean, those formative years are so critical that I'm still, in terms of my feeling for my parents or family relationship with the kids or wife, I mean, they're still Indian because of the fact that I came that young, as opposed to somebody who's raised here.
Yeah, so my father came here in the 70s, and all of my siblings and I were born here and raised here. And I think that because it depends on when your family came from India. Like if your family came in the 80s or or 70s or early 90s, that culture that they bring from India is from that time. So my father, he be living here for past 40 or 50 years, but his culture, like his like, you know, the sanskar, the culture that he has is from that time that he left India. So the people coming from India right now, their culture is more of today, like 2000 or whatever. So it's changed a lot and it's become more westernized. So the culture they bring is very different, even though they may have lived in India for a longer period of time and have
So I'm
seen
just
that.
going to interrupt here,
But
just in the
yeah,
essence of time, Pathini. You brought a very, very critical point here, right? Because I also heard that people who like went to Africa, like say 2, 3, 4 generations ago, right? They are holding to the dharma from that time frame, similar to people who are coming to US in like 2010, 20. They are like very, very modern and I mean so much quote unquote proud Hindus, right?
not modern, westernized.
Westernized, yes, exactly. So my key question at this point is, what can VHPA or I mean, what can Dharma provide kind of a guidance for any young parent to make sure that they reverse whatever degradation has been done? Or like, how can we motivate the current generation to stick to their roots? Any thoughts, both of you?
So my personal thought is, I feel like it starts at the top. And as Pinky Auntie said, we have to connect the elders to the kids. And I feel like if we do a good job between connecting those two generations, then I feel like the parents will fall in between on their own. And I feel like the only way to make these types of connections is basically just by spending time. You know, as we spend time, more and more time with someone, we start to learn more about that person. And I know that maybe I might be personally attached to my grandparents, but I have friends that don't even live with their grandparents, you know, see them once a year, twice a year. And I feel like bridging that gap between these two generations is extremely important. And I feel like the generation of young parents will come in by default. I guess that's my 2 cents.
How about you, Pathini?
Yeah, I'd like to agree that you know, starting, everybody has, if you're not involved in your culture, then if you like, you know, many years ago, I was at a VHPA America conference in Maryland, and someone asked us like, so how can we get more kids to come to VHPA or Bagokulam? And I said, if you as parents don't come, your kids are not going to come. So it's just about time. If you don't put in the time and energy, you know, you have to put in that effort. Like one person has to. If one person will in your family, then I think they can pull in the rest at a certain point. It'll take time, but they should be able to pull them in if you do it the correct, like, if you do it persistently. Yeah.
So, fantastic conversation, guys. And I mean, appreciate you doing an excellent presentation. So let's give a round of applause to both Nimay and Pathini. Job done very well. Thank you, guys.